Market update here on the 25th. So I haven't been doing that many updates lately, mainly because the market has been pretty much sideways for a couple of weeks. There wasn't really any point in doing updates. I was just being pretty redundant. But we get a big move today, down 1.6%, QQQ down 1.9%. And so my thoughts are still somewhat the same. I did see Microsoft beating earnings and popping like crazy. So I see two different scenarios now. I see how some people can say this is a third wave all the way up to here, and this is a fourth wave, and we get a fifth wave higher. I can see that as well. The reason why I believe that this was, and believe potentially this was a third wave right here, is because I use parallel lines to determine my waves. And if this is a first wave, this is a second wave, you can see that we breach it outside of it barely right here. So I consider this 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that's where my reasoning comes for the sell-off already started. And so I still see that as my number one scenario playing out. In that case, I still see us coming down to, I think 397 is like my main target on this. That would be the 0.5 fib, or is it the 0.38 fib? Yeah, that's the 0.5 fib. And that would mean that this is a first wave, second wave pullback, third wave higher. The last video I put out, I went over that more in depth. So that would be a first wave, second wave pullback. That's the number one scenario. But going short term, we came down today and hit right into a demand zone. We bounced after hours. So it wouldn't be surprising to me if tomorrow we do something like this, back into a supply zone and then go lower. That's my short-term thoughts. We could go down here to low 400s and maybe bounce again and then go down to a lower target. So we'll see how that goes, but we did come into supply or demand zone, and so that's kind of the best way to look at it right now. And if we bounce tomorrow, what you're going to be looking for is we get up to this supply zone at 409.50, up here to 414.67. You want to see how this reacts when it gets into this zone. If it's strong price action, then it could potentially go to new highs, and that would mean that this is actually a fourth wave. If we get weak price action, I'm looking for down here at 400. So again, from what I measured out, this 5-wave move is already over, but I can also see some people saying that this third wave is actually this, and we're starting a fourth wave, we get fifth wave higher. So I'm just going to watch the price action up here into this demand zone and see how it plays out. QQQ. And by the way, too, if you followed, though, at 416 was my original target, we sold off 10 points. So if you got short there, you made some pretty good money down here to this demand zone. QQQ, kind of the same thing. I'm looking for a sell-off down here to 295 if we keep on going. It is possible that it ends up going like this, and we go up here to, my target would be like 327. The reason for that is, well, it'll be 327, or if you look at the length of all these moves, this one is 43, all right? Yeah, 43, and this one is 54. So I don't see this going past, if it goes higher, 338, which I talked about in one of the videos prior. That's up here. That would be the highest it can go. But if it's the same length as the first wave, which usually there's one that's longer and then there's two that are equal, 327 would be the target if it goes higher. Otherwise, we topped out here and we're already making our way down here to 295. And you'll see on Microsoft here in a second why I think we probably still have already topped out. Microsoft. So same thing. Looking at the length of these waves, if this is a 5-wave move and it hasn't been completed yet, as it's showing here in after hours, we have one more move higher. Weekly supply starts at 296. This is going right into weekly supply. This first wave is from 212 all the way up here to 263. That's 51 points. We got 218 up to 276 at 58. The bottom here is at 246, 245. So for that reason, I don't think this goes past 303 because that would mean it's longer than both 1 and 3. This is already the longest wave right here. So I think that it's more than likely it's going to be the same length as this one right here, which is 212. What is it? About 51 points, which is 297. So 297 is actually right at the very bottom of this supply zone, and that would actually be the end of the 5-wave move. So this is basically a last grasp effort for this to go higher. And so that really just means that tomorrow should be a move higher and then sell off. So maybe we didn't start it yet, but we're going to start it after that. So 297, I look for a minimum pullback to 264, and there is a demand zone at 260. So that's just showing that the most likely scenario, in my opinion, we'll see how it goes, probably going to be something like this. A lot of Elliott Wave people would disagree with this, that I've been looking at their charts, but that's just what I see. Everyone's different, and I just see a last move higher for Microsoft. And so I'm following that. I think that's what QQQ will probably do as well, and SPY will probably do something similar to that too, but we'll see. Could be wrong. Apple hasn't really sold off that much yet. Probably just got to wait till earnings to see what's going to happen here. But again, this is up like 28% since January. And so I'm expecting a pullback here soon. The 177 was my original target. So if QQQ does go higher, then I would expect Apple to lead the way up here to the 1.61 fib around 177. Tesla. So Tesla, I feel very confident about this count. I remember I talked about gap fill in previous videos, and we are getting close to it. We're not there yet. I have this labeled as A, B, 1, 2, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the third wave. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for a third wave. And if you draw a parallel line out here from the first to the third, this is kind of what I'm expecting tomorrow, maybe. Something like this, maybe even into like Thursday or Friday. And this might take a little bit of chop up here to potentially 166. And then I'm expecting one more wave lower down here to the gap fill. So even if I expect QQQ to drop from here, it's not like it's a huge drop. It's at 310 right now. If I'm looking for 295 minimum, that's only a, what is that, only a 5% drop from here. And on SPY, maybe 397, that's only a 2% drop more from here, basically, 2.5%. So it's not like I'm expecting a huge sell-off, but if Microsoft comes up here to 300 tomorrow, it's going to be a pretty decent sell-off down here to 263. 300, that's like a, what is that, like a 12, 13% sell-off. So we'll see. I don't expect Apple to sell off that much either. Let's look at the dollar and then look at Bitcoin and call it good. dollar still kind of just sitting there. It did double bottom here. I still think the most likely scenario is coming back up here for a double top and then going lower. And yeah, it's not really telling us anything on smaller time frames. I want to see this bounce up here to maybe a double top, or it could also do something like this. This is where I see demand here at 93, and that's where I expect it to eventually go to before going higher. So if we zoom out even farther, we have W, X, and Y higher. This might take years. I don't know, end of 2020 maybe. Or maybe that'll happen like gradually over the next 6 or 7 years. But again, we also have the melt up still in the overall market, so maybe it will bounce and go lower actually before it starts melting up. We'll have to find out later. So again, thesis is either 397 now, or we go up here to 420 and then sell off. I'm still leaning towards this scenario though. And on QQQ, I'm still leaning towards something like this. And then 295 is my target. But again, if we go higher, 327 is target. Can't go past 338. On SPY, probably 420 would be a good target up here. Microsoft, looking for about 297 up here in a weekly supply, wherever it's at after hours, and then sell off. Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is popping a little bit here today after selling off for a few days. It went right into supply. I don't remember the last time I did the video update on this, but I think that I had it going up a little bit higher, but it got caught up in the supply and sold off. So I still expect it to go lower from here. I think that the minimum is about 25,000 and maximum is probably 19.7. So anywhere in this range before making another move higher, the general direction is going to end up being basically this. And yeah, that's what I see. I don't think that it's possible that it's starting a 5-wave move higher and we're starting the next wave higher as well, which would look like something like that with the overall market melting up. But with the thesis the bear market hasn't ended yet, I still suspect that it's going to end up looking like this. And then there's going to be a move that's going to take it to new lows. Down here, I don't know exactly the target on that right now, but that's kind of my overall thesis. So short term, right now, I'm just dollar cost averaging into this. I don't think it really makes sense to try to be a hero and get the exact bottom. I think that when you know that it's probably going to go higher, dollar cost averaging over like a couple of weeks to a month is probably the best strategy. It looks like right now it's just making it's just pulling back a little bit. This could even be a fourth wave right here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and we get a fifth wave down, bounce, and then go lower. So hopefully this video was helpful for knowing what to expect tomorrow. Really, I would be looking at the supply and demand zones, and you got 409.52 to 414.70. That's going to be an important area if we bounce, if we get there. And then on QQQ, we still have this supply zone here at 320, starting at 320 all the way up here to 327. That's important. And below, I like 295, but there is a demand zone at 293 to 287. So I'll leave it at that. Leave me a comment, like, subscribe if you want more updates. I do them usually every day, but the last couple of weeks I've been kind of laying off a little bit because the market hasn't really been moving. And we'll see what happens tomorrow. I'll probably do them pretty much every day this week just because we have earnings and there should be some pretty big moves. Expect Microsoft to probably come up here to weekly demand unless they want to kill all the options. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. Have a good night. I'll talk to you tomorrow.